Established by Polish and Kashubian settlers in the 1870s, Poletown evolved into a working-class neighborhood with a diverse cultural blend. Its expansion parallels Detroit's industrial boom era, fueled mainly by the automotive sector in the early 20th century. Strategically situated close to hub cities, Poletown played an integral role in Detroit's manufacturing landscape, with its inhabitants largely engaged in jobs at nearby car factories and related industries. The area was known for its compact housing areas filled with homes and small shops, to the community's character and lively spirit found in churches where people came together based on common cultural backgrounds.
In the decades of its existence, Poletown thrived as a hub of bustling activity mainly found along Mack Avenue, where many small businesses flourished from grocery stores and restaurants to bakeries and barber shops. However, as the 1960s and 1970s rolled in, due to the period of downturn in suburban growth, an increase in racial tensions, and the broader industrial restructuring that Detroit underwent. This all began to take its toll on the once vibrant neighborhood. Property values plummeted and infrastructure aged. The population dwindled, transforming Poletown into a target for urban renewal.
The neighborhood's narrative embodies the contentious essence of urban revitalization in American cities. The revitalization of Poletown involved redevelopment in the early 70s and 80s to make room for the establishment of an expansive General Motors assembly plant, currently recognized as Factory Zero. This city revitalization project included clearing out areas of land and tearing down existing buildings in the area while displacing many residents, using legal rights to acquire property, and making major alterations to the community's demographic and economic structure. The situation in Poletown demonstrates the benefits and drawbacks of urban renewal strategies by drawing attention to the involvement of government authority, national funds, and the legal environment in transforming cities. The beginnings of Detroit's strategy towards revitalizing areas in Poletown have deep ties to the larger urban planning trends following World War II. These trends involved funding geared toward American cities, drawing inspiration from programs like the Housing Act of 1949 and the Interstate Highway Act of 1956. Urban planners aim to create cities that emphasize car travel and updated infrastructure, subsequently altering the fundamental structure of urban areas. Detroit's leaders were deeply concerned about the city's shrinking sector due to companies moving their operations to more economically advantageous locations in suburbs or other states during the 1970s recession and the broader trend of industrial decentralization across the country. They viewed the project as a chance to strengthen Detroit's industrial landscape in response to these challenges. As a result of this perspective shift and economic necessity at the time, the requests made by General Motors were met with compliance. Poletown's revitalization was not an effort. It was part of Detroit's broader plan to combat economic decline and population loss by undertaking ambitious redevelopment initiatives citywide, such as downtown rejuvenation and freeway extensions. The city planners saw Poletown's renewal as a blueprint that could be applied to struggling areas dealing with comparable economic hardships.
In conversations about urban renewal initiatives, such as the project, people often forget to consider the emotional effects on those who were forced to leave their homes. By sharing stories and conducting interviews with Poletown residents, it becomes clear that the experience of uprooting caused significant emotional pain and grief. These accounts shed light on the distress felt by individuals, the breakdown of community ties, and the enduring resentment towards both government officials and big businesses involved in the displacement. Many former inhabitants describe the bonds they formed lasting a lifetime.
The formal classification of Poletown as blighted played a role in paving the way for redevelopment efforts to take place in the area. City planners, officials, and business stakeholders leveraged the term blight to draw attention to challenges like rundown housing conditions and a lack of economic vitality. Designated the neighborhood in this manner allowed Detroit to qualify for and secure urban renewal funding through Title I grants mandated by regulations, which ultimately supported the ambitious scope of the redevelopment initiative. At the heart of the Poletown Revitalization Initiative was the establishment of the Detroit Economic Development Corporation, or the DEDC. Working closely with city officials and business leaders, including representatives from General Motors, the DEDC played a role in championing redevelopment efforts. Their main argument centered on the loss of jobs if GM decided to move its manufacturing options to other locations outside Detroit's borders. As a result of these concerns and pressures like GM relocation threats, city officials highlighted redevelopment as an economic tactic aimed at retaining General Motors and securing Detroit's financial prosperity for years to come. Planners conducted an assessment of the demographic aspects of Poletown and found that the neighborhood was facing economic challenges and structural issues.
As most of you know, GM's vision of the future is all electric, a world with zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion. And today's news is this: the future is here and now. I am pleased to announce that General Motors is investing $2.2 billion in this Detroit Hamtramck assembly plant to build a new generation of electric pickup trucks, SUVs, and other EVs beginning late just this next year.
People moved here from all over the world because they knew they could get a great job in the auto industry and build a prosperous life in this state for themselves and their families. The auto workers at this facility helped build the middle class in the state of Michigan and in the United States. They're some of the toughest, smartest, hardworking people in the world, and they make the best cars on the road right here in Michigan. So I'm proud to be here today with GM, bringing 2,000 good-paying manufacturing jobs for our auto workers and getting Hamtramck back online, helping to bring the...
The city of Detroit formally named the region the Central Industrial Park Project, encompassing around 465 acres of Poletown. This designated area covered all homes, businesses, and places of worship and community. To support revitalization,
Detroit Auditorium is where the Detroit Symphony Orchestra used to be their home, and that's where I graduated from. That's where our graduation ceremony was.
Properties, demolishing structures, and relocating residents to make way for GM factory construction. One of the debated aspects of urban renewal plan in Poletown was the application of eminent domain laws by the city government to acquire private properties under the premise that it was necessary for anticipated economic advantages brought by this project. Around 3,500 individuals found themselves displaced from their residences as a result of this action. Alongside this upheaval came the demolition of 1,500 houses and 144 commercial establishments, 16 churches, and even a hospital. A series of events led to heated disputes that eventually resulted in the Michigan Supreme Court case known as Poletown Neighborhood Council v. City of Detroit, 1981. This case solidified the practice of eminent domain for economic revitalization purposes instead of precedent nationwide.
However, that precedent was erased in 2004 by the case of County Line v. Havelock, which overturned the initial Poletown ruling and banned the use of eminent domain for purely economic purposes. This legal decision mirrored an assessment of urban revitalization policies and moral dilemmas associated with government-led displacements. In the recent years in Detroit, there has been talk about improving the city and involving the community in redevelopment plans. The area has undergone notable changes like the GM Factory Zero project that started back in 2009, which showcases modern methods for urban renewal efforts. The focus of Factory Zero on manufacturing electric vehicles underlines the sector's growing emphasis on eco-friendly practices.